The views on a Breath of Fresh Air podcast reflects the parties involved, and we encourage you all to use it as a conversational tool that will lead to personal studies of your own.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Welcome to a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz Gay. As a young person, Christianity can be so foggy, like smoke in the mirrors and so unclear. But we're here to bring you a breath of fresh air.
There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, and it is prevalent among men. A man to whom God has given riches and wealth and honor, so that his soul lacks nothing of all that he desires. Yet God has not empowered him to eat from them, for a foreigner enjoys them. This is vanity and a severe affliction. If a man fathers 100 children and lives many years, however many they be, but his soul is not satisfied with good things, and he does not even have a proper burial, then I say, better the miscarriage than he, for it comes in futility and goes into obscurity, and its name is covered in obscurity. It never sees the sun, and it never knows anything. It is better off than he. Even if the other man lives 1,000 years twice and does not enjoy good things, do not all go to one place? All a man's labor is for his mouth, and yet the appetite is not satisfied. For what advantage does the wise man have over the fool? What advantage does the poor man have knowing how to walk before the living? What the eyes see is better than what the soul desires. This too is futility and a striving after the wind. Whatever exists has already been named, and it is known what man is. For he cannot dispute with him who is stronger than he is. For there are many words which increase futility. What then is the advantage to a man? For who knows what is good for a man during his lifetime? During the few years of his futile life, he will spend them like a shadow. For who can tell a man what will be after him under the sun?
We started today's episode with a conversation on faith. Then we dove into Ecclesiastes 6, a chapter that challenges our perspective on wealth, success, and satisfaction. Solomon confronts the unsettling reality of unfulfilled desires, reminding us that without God, even the greatest blessings can feel empty. Get ready to explore the deeper meaning of true contentment and where it can truly be found. As always, be blessed and enjoy. All right, welcome back to another episode of A Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts,
Nakhaz Gay.
and Earl Roberts. So this is our second episode of the year.
As you notice, we were in the same clothes. For
As
those
last episode, if you're watching it live,
Right.
if
not
you're
live,
watching
but
it,
on YouTube.
yeah, that is true. So yeah, we are still in December, but this is going to be in January.
Like January 10th.
Yeah, mercy, time's flying.
Yeah, how the New Year treating you all?
Boy, I know, right? Leave it in the comment below.
Right.
But yeah, God is good. So I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
We can kick this one off with a question. Boy, I tell you, boy, Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, Psalms getting neglected.
I tell you,
recently.
bad.
It was a noble effort, but but what it is a good filler when we don't have a thought.
That's true.
So that's good.
It is good.
That's good. But my question stems on a conversation I had this week, right? And long story short, it was on the topic of faith, and it was in jest, right? But my question is faith logical?
It shouldn't be logical. Well, it depends. Like, when the start of faith
Mm-hmm.
should be illogical,
Mm-hmm.
right? It is by faith that Abraham moved to this unknown city, or even Moses, right? It was by faith that Moses spoke to this inanimate bush, this inanimate fire, but it was God in the bush and the fire. Logic would state that bushes don't talk. You see what I'm saying? Like fire does not communicate with you. And God, also logic would tell you that God does not communicate via these things because based on the Bible, we have no evidence that has happened before. You know what I'm saying? So faith definitely is illogical, but it gets to a point where it can be logical because if we know that God comes through, right? That God has kept you and his will be done, right? You can have faith that what God you could have faith that what God has said will come through or true, whatever. And when that has happened, when you already established that, logic would tell you, based on your evidence or based on your own observation, that God keeps his promises. You see what I'm saying? That God will hold up his end of the bargain. The problem is that you don't really have proof that it will happen again. You have proof that it happened before. Like that's logic to me. Like logic is like we based on evidence, based on statistics. You see what I'm saying? This thing is going to happen, right? But because God is not tangible to us, you see what I'm saying? Like because we don't see God, we don't actually hear from God like the way we see and hear people. You could easily say, I don't know. At any given time, you could say, I don't know. Like for instance, you could see where God, who did this happen to in the Bible?
Thomas?
Thomas is one person. Let's say the disciples. You can see where Jesus turned the fish. He multiplied the fish and the loaves, right? The first time it happened, it was a miracle, right? They could have had faith or not. If they had faith, it would be illogical. Excuse me. It happened again. And even the second time they didn't know it could happen. Now, logic would state that the person who did it the first time could do it the second time. That's logic. But even then, they did not believe that it could happen, or they questioned whether it would happen. Excuse me. And that's because like as human beings, I believe that we so one track, not even one track mind. It's like, what have you done for me lately? You know, or out of sight, out of mind. So many times God has brought us through all of these things that we sacrifice logic, and that allows us to not have faith. So I believe faith and logic can coincide, but you know, it's times when it's illogical to have faith. You know, what do you think?
I think it's a mixture of both. I mean, I think in and of itself, faith logically explains the illogical. Like, is walking on water logical?
No,
it's not.
Unless it's frozen. I'm just playing, but
good one, right? But Peter walking on water, is that something logical? No, but it is his faith that Jesus was God that allowed him to walk on water. So faith made logically explain the illogical. Jesus turning water into wine. The same people.
No.
All red, depending on the color, or you know,
all white. You know what I mean?
But that white greenish color.
It's a different white.
You know what I'm saying? But Jesus turned water into wine. How? Because I mean, he is God, but like to us, logically that doesn't make sense. But we know Jesus could do that. Go to a place, I will show you. What? That don't make no sense. You know what I'm saying? And the premise, like at least our discussion was, I'm like, yo, when you walking in faith, there will be things that seem illogical to you, and quite honestly, it's going to seem illogical to people who even probably in your inner circle or who you trust. But if God given you a vision and you 100% know it from God, you have to step out illogically in your mind because of the faith that you have that makes this illogical decision that's a logical decision that would be to most actually a logical one for you because you know where your faith lies. And it was a nuanced conversation trying to explain that to someone. Because I mean, this person was a Christian, but it's like, you know, still kind of like new in the faith. So like some of these things just seem so novel.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So but to me, that's just like the beauty of it because, man, if if it was so logical, it wouldn't require faith.
Yeah. So if I had to only pick one, I would say faith is illogical, right? Because basically we asking a human to predict God's movements or the things that he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be logical. If you and I, it's like you could understand human nature because you've been around humans, not because you just naturally are that intuitive, but we've interacted, so we can make educated guesses on what people would do in certain situations. You know what I mean? But now we need a break. We need a blessing in some type of way, and we don't know. We probably don't even know we probably only know a fraction of what God is like or how he conducts things, right? And God is now going to bless you. How can we conceive how God is going to bless us? He has so many options at his disposal. He's so wise and so powerful. And so more than likely the way he blesses you is not going to be something that you think of, because we can't understand God, right? But at the same time, once we accept that, to your point, right? It's like, what's the word you use? Like, it's doing something to the illogical. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? Like
it logically explains the illogical. Like, I mean, it gives it more substance, but like but finish your point.
Yeah. So it explains the illogical, right? It logically explains the illogical. So the way God acts or the way God manifests himself is illogical to us, because we cannot track him. You see what I'm saying? Like we cannot study him enough to understand how he's going to do, because that would also require us to know the future. You see what I'm saying? Know all of the variables. If we know every variable that's going to happen, right? We could say, hey, this is probably the way God is going to treat this, or this is the only way he can treat this for it to happen. But we don't know all that stuff, And so we know that God is illogical, right? But we also trust that God keeps his promises. You see what I'm saying? And that God will provide for us, right? And so now, God being the illogical in this scenario, right? Logic now, once he's done that so many times, or you've seen him do it, right? You could start to apply logic, not in how he's going to provide, but that he's going to provide. You know?
Like the only, I agree with you. Like I agree with you, right? The only thing I would disagree with is like us saying even God is illogical, right? Like our faith seems illogical because we can't understand God. It's nothing about God that's illogical. That's the only thing about it, right? Because God's ways are not our ways. What we perceive as illogical is logical to him. But think about it, bro. Like the only way I can show you that I am God.
We agree. I'm
saying like, we saying the same thing. That's like, the nitpickers out there. Oh, God's illogical.
Yeah,
oh,
right.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because I mean, and it's funny, right? Because like people nitpick at the illogicalness of it all, but the only way God can prove to you that he is God, that would gain your trust, is by doing the illogical, is by healing the sick, is by giving the blind sight. You know what I'm saying? Is by casting out the demons, is by turning water into wine, is by resurrecting and coming again and having to show you the holes in my hand. You know what I'm saying? Because as humans, there's always some level of doubt, mistrust, just hurt, right? But and going back to your point, if you have seen what God has done in your life, and also the testimony of others, what God has done in other people's lives and can do in yours, you suddenly start to believe, have hope that it's a possibility that God could also turn my life around too, right? It's a possibility that if I take this blind step, what might be seemingly a blind step, that there's going to be solid ground on the other side. You know what I'm saying? So like, man, and that's the thing, like even when people come into me, like not in this specific sense, right? But when people come into me saying like, yo, God told me to do something, I always try to tell them like, pray about it, because what might seem illogical to me truly might be God telling you to do something, bro. Because
can't rule it out.
Because I always go back to like, man, even before Abraham sacrificing Isaac, because bro, if someone come to me and tell me God tell them sacrifice their son, I really haven't.
That's one of the craziest.
You know what I'm saying, right? But I'm thinking about like, man, Abraham, when it was time for him to leave Ur, telling all your friends and loved ones you about to leave Ur. You know what I'm saying? Telling your boys you grew up with you about to leave Ur, and it ain't even like, oh, I about to leave Ur and I go in here. I about to leave Ur and I don't know where I'm going.
Right.
And who tell you to do this again?
God tell you to what?
Like, it's a difference if I tell you I leave in Ur and I go into Egypt. Okay, at least you know where you're going.
It's like a destination.
You know what I'm saying? I tell you I leave in Nassau and I go into Bimini. All right, you know you're going, oh, cause I moving out my house. Yeah, but so you moving to, but I know. What? What you mean you don't know where you're going?
That sounds illogical.
You know what I'm What you mean you don't know where you're going?
Cause it ain't like now, right? You got your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
You got a bank account. Like you could order things if you need to. You could go whatever, bro. It ain't like now. You could just jump in your car when you get home. You stop at the fast food restaurant, etc. They had to plan. They had to make provisions. Yeah. If you know you going to such a place, you need to be able to have food for.
It should take us X amount of days to get there theoretically. So we need X amount of food, X amount of water, or we could stop in this town to resupply ourselves along the way. But you know you go, oh, like what does that mean? But Abraham walked in faith. He knew that whereas I might not know my ultimate destination, I know who's guiding me on this journey. You know what I'm saying? So that seems illogical, but it was logically explained. Like, what's the next one we just mentioned?
Can't remember, but to me, the faith in my personal life, it is put to the test when you have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
If my rent is due and I have no way of making the money, but I have faith that God provide a way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a choice but to just sit and wait. You know what I mean? Like, because my back against the wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
The song, Donnie McClurkin have a song, after you done all you can, just stand, right?
Yeah.
So when you're in that situation, I have no choice, but I don't see where the money coming from. It's not logical that I'm going to get this money, right? But then you watch God come through, and you're like, wow, that's crazy. But I didn't have a decision to make in that instance. You see what I'm saying? So I didn't really have to wrestle with logic or not. You see what I'm saying? But it's times when, like with the Abraham scenario, he was instructed to do something. He had a choice whether he wanted to do it or not.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And I give a better example. And this is the one that's so crazy to me. And it's hard for me to actually like grapple with this, even to this day. Some people take the stance saying that God was wrong for even requesting this. I don't agree with that. I don't feel that way. But when God asked Abraham to sacrifice his son, to me, even that request was illogical. Remember how I was just saying, once you understand how God comes through, right?
Yep.
Is it where in the Bible, or can you show me consistently where God asks of his children to sin? You telling me to kill my son is telling me to sin. I believe. I mean, obviously, it's a time to kill. When some could argue, when they had to kill all the people who worship the serpent. The golden calf. Was that sin or whatever? Bro, this was unprovoked. You just had a son. It's like, all right, now sacrifice
the
him.
promised son.
The promised son. Now sacrifice him. To me, that was God was asking you to sin, to kill. Thou shalt not kill. That to me is the prime example of not non-logic right there. You see what I'm saying? But Abraham knew what he heard. He vividly heard it from God, I believe. And so he had to ignore logic, you see what I'm saying, and lock in and follow God. You see what I'm saying? And as a result, we have a very debated topic and a very beautiful foreshadowing of what God actually had to go through. And it's so funny, like I was watching something where it was like, they don't believe in God because why? Because it was selfish to sacrifice your son or something. I believe I was listening to a poem or something like I was at a poetry show, and sometimes they just get little esoteric in their mind frames, like in their thought process and stuff. But it's like, why would, like, they don't believe in God because you kill your son type situation. Like they try to frame it like
in a God like who killed his own son.
Right, like they frame it like it was an abandonment type situation, right? But it's like that's illogical to them. Now, to my point, when I say God is illogical, it's always to man. Because I believe logic is a study, is like a man-made study of sequence
and what we could prove.
And what we could prove. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not logic. You can't say tomorrow it's going to rain fire and brimstone. That's illogical. You see what I'm saying? Because what's this based on, bro? Like, what triggers this? When have we seen this before? You know? And that's God, bro. Like, fire and brimstone, sometimes we see that in the Bible too, right? But also the things that he do, we cannot predict what he's going. Sometimes we can predict what he's going to do because we know God is good. So we know, good is going to happen, but we don't know when God or how God is going to do something. You see what I'm saying? But we still have to have faith in that. And that's why if I could just boil it down to one, it's like, I would have to say it's illogical.
Agreed.
Because how can I have faith in this thing that is so unpredictable? That's almost like the antithesis. That's the word I was trying to remember last
antithesis.
Yeah, last episode.
That's a tongue twister.
Real talk. Of faith, bro. What? How can I have faith? Bro, I have faith that my roof is not going to cave in. It's practical. You see what I'm saying? But it's like when it comes to God, even religion at large, bro, faith requires you to believe in something that has no substance. You see what I'm saying? Like something
evidence
that you
of things
cannot
hoped
see.
For. Yep.
And so, so I guess the way I use faith, like I'd say stuff like, I have faith in my barber, I have faith in the food I make and stuff like that. But that's not faith.
No.
That's not faith. I don't know what the word for that is, but that's not biblically, that's not how faith is described in the Bible.
That's trust.
That's trust, bro. Like,
yeah, that's trust.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Like, having faith does require some level of human illogicalness, if that's a word. Because,
Today it is.
Yeah, today it is. Today it is, But I mean, yeah, like, because it literally is the evidence of things hoped for, the substance of things not seen. And so to believe in something you can't see to the scientific world naturally makes no sense. But yet they believe in the Big Bang. But, we ain't gonna nitpick at that today. But yeah, and I think like that's something like it's a good debate. It's a good conversation because a lot of people do swap faith and trust, and faith and hope. And to me, like faith does require a belief. Like faith in itself is a belief system. Like we believe Jesus rose again from the cross. It's not logical that any human in our lifetime come back from the dead. You know what I'm saying? So that takes a level of belief. That takes a level of faith because we believe that he died for our sins and rose again. You know what I'm saying? So in of itself, faith requires a belief and it requires trust, but it does require a level of, I can't prove this. I can't explain this, but I believe in it.
Bro, in my personal life, sometimes I don't even think deeply because I'm just like, I believe God can do it.
Amen. Yep.
But sometimes I don't think deeply whether he will do it or not. I know that he can, right? And I'd see it come to pass, bro. And then I'd really be there sitting like, bro, I didn't even have time to grapple on whether he will do it or not. But I just knew that he can. You see what I'm saying? Like for instance, when we were trying to buy a house, I think the economy was like kind of scary at the time. Where it's like, oh, we need to buy a house now because the interest rates was going
about to tick up. Yep.
It was going up, and the housing market, like prices of houses was increasing so much, right? And it's like, I could not predict where this was going to come to an end. You see what I'm saying? Or how steep these interest rates would be. And so we were like, hey, we gotta buy sooner than later. And so it was like January or February when we decided that our lease was ending in May, right? And it was like, man, we gotta buy a house by May. But we had a couple dollars. We had just got married September. You see what I'm saying? So we had only been married for like 3 or 4 months at that time. And it was like, bro, we gotta buy a house, but we didn't plan to buy a house that year, you know? And next thing you know, and my wife, she wasn't working yet. She had just moved here. That's what she's doing here. She's trying to get her clientele. And I was like, you know, I could, you know, handle everything. The savings ain't could be that big each month. You see what I'm saying? But we could try. We could try to find something. We was looking at like condos and stuff that wasn't as expensive. You see what I'm saying? And her friend was like, hey, this is the lady at this salon that she started working with. She said, hey, I want to apply. I want to give you this application for rent relief because of the pandemic. Like there's this government initiative, they relieving rent. And she was like, all right, cool.
I wish we didn't know about that in 2020.
Real dog.
2021 when we was still
I telling you.
But keep going.
Right. And so we
solid.
I tell you, but listen to the story though. Like, so when I apply, because we married, like our joint finances, the girl was like, oh, I don't qualify for this, like, because I make too much. You see what I'm saying? And she was like, I guess the lady just assumed the tax bracket that Yana was in. Like, she didn't know me or nothing like that. And just assuming that it would work out for me. And so I was like, I didn't think it was gonna work. Like, I'm from the Bahamas, bro. Like, our government don't do stuff like this. You see what I'm saying?
No.
So even when we get the stimulus, I didn't think that was gonna happen, bro. Like, they was talking about, I was like, bro, there's no way they just can give out free money, bro. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like,
see, me, I definitely read the bill. Remember, I was shocked. My thing is, I was like, will we?
Yeah, with you and I. Yeah.
And I was like, Kazi, I think we will qualify.
Yeah, bro. Like, so
I said, given this, we meet this criteria.
So I happy for whatever, bro.
Amen.
So we end up applying, and bro, even though we didn't qualify, bro. Yeah, because Yana was like, bro, still apply. I was like, babe, firstly, this is not gonna. I didn't even
logically, it's like why wasting my time?
Why wasting my time? Number one, why this random person who work with you getting applications for people, like why are you involved?
She doing too much.
You see this? But my thing was like, how does this obviously people just do stuff that don't benefit them, right?
That was always be a thing. There's like, how does this benefit you?
How does it benefit you telling me
this?
Like, are you like, because no lie, if
that's always been your thing, man.
Hey, maybe I need to see a therapist to see like my relationship with people, right?
But that's your story. I can tell something after.
Yeah, but my thing is, right, it would have been different if you was making commission off this, right? But I don't see why the government would pay you for the more people that you give this rent relief for. But anyway, we still apply, and we end up getting it, bro. By the grace of God, they relieve us of like the last 3 months of our rent.
Just what you needed.
Just what we needed, bro. And that really helped us to be able to make our down payment for the house, bro. And so I was like, bro, I know that God could have made a way, right? I didn't think whether he would. I trusted that it was gonna work out, but I wasn't like, God, please help us get a house, like help it work out. Worst case scenario, we just would have had to pay the expensive rent that they was gonna charge us after our lease renewed. But God ended up fixing this need before it become an extreme need for me, right?
Shall supply all you need.
And so now I cannot reasonably doubt God when I am really in a pinch, when I really in a bind. When God's saying, hey, do this, I cannot say, hey, I really know if this could work out good for me. I cannot in good faith actually, like it's unreasonable for me to have those type of thoughts because of situations like that where God has worked it out for us. Somebody who is an atheist could say, oh, that just work out, right? Tell me what's the probability of me really needing money to buy a house, right? And
some random person.
You see what I'm saying? Work it out for us to not make more money, but save majority of the money that we was spending out each month. We just so happened to need at that very time, bro. I I don't.
For the time period that we needed
for the time period we needed it for, like it don't make that don't work for me. That don't make sense. You see what I'm saying?
That's literally God working it out, bro, and supplying your needs, not your wants.
Amen.
But supplying your needs, and that's how God. That's how God is work, man. And it's so interesting too, right? Because like you had certain things just aligned in ways you couldn't think of, ways you didn't predict, ways you almost turned down.
Right.
But and it's just those small actions in faith and trusting God, trusting God opening these doors, and you just like kind of walking through them. Even when you like, is this the right move? But it feel right. We know we need this to happen. We know it's going to happen. Then all at the end of the day, you're like, wow, I couldn't have made that work any better, even if I had tried. And if I had tried, I would have messed it up.
You don't.
Because you would have been like, "Babe, I don't qualify for this, babe. What are you even doing this for?" You know what I'm saying? Because if you had found out about yourself, or like on your own, and no one like told you that, you'd have been like, "I don't qualify for this. I'm not even applying."
Yeah.
Or someone needed more than me.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I applying? There's so much different ways where we turn down certain blessings that God trying to bestow upon us just because of us just not acting. And that's the part we can get into the whole faith and works conversation. But I would have that talk today.
Yeah.
But
what a story you can tell.
Oh, you? This one thing with my good friend Nakhaz, right? This one thing with my good friend, right? But if someone doing something with the kindness of their heart, my boy has to know the angle. Bro, not me, because he trusts me, right? But a random person could be telling us how to make money, and guys could be like, does it truly work? Because why are you telling me?
Why would you that? I sincerely feel
your thing, bro.
I sincerely feel that way,
like, why are you telling me, bro? Because if it was really working, you would not be telling me.
Tell
you
me
would
this.
be out there doing it.
You don't got no cousins or no brother or something you can put on. Why are you coming to me with this opportunity like this, bro? I don't know. I don't buy it. I don't. It seems a little what is it? Intruistic? Like how you say it? Like,
wait, Kasi is just be like, but I don't know, but like, what is your angle on telling me?
That's what I want to know, bro. It seems like a catch. It's giving a catch, bro. I'm sorry.
Let's just jump to the catch.
Let's just jump to the case, bro. Let's cut to the chase.
Oh
bro.
my, that is be hilarious.
But it always boiled down to that for me, bro. That's just sad. I'm sorry, bro.
God working out a miracle for you, and my boy like, why is she telling us this?
Why? This can't be right. This can't.
Damn, now the Holy Spirit done lay on this woman's heart to talk to your wife, to let you know I have an answer to your prayers. And you right there trying to figure out the angle. And how only the angle is, God placed this on my heart.
You're right.
If she did tell you that, what would your response would have been?
I would have given her a chance, man. I would have given her a chance. If you say God, and I know this could benefit me, cool. If all I have to do is apply, but now if you telling me I gotta do something that like kind of inconvenience me, now I really question if God tell you this, because like tell me, and then I can control. You see what I'm saying? Like, and that's what faith always boiled down to, bro. It's about that control, bro. You know we was talking for 30 minutes on faith, bro.
Oh, that's wild.
That's crazy.
That is wild. This episode, I mean, this chapter is short, and it's chapter only 12 verses, so I ain't too mad at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a faith part too. But yeah, man, like that's the illogicalness of faith, because when you look back at it, you can't see how things work out, man. Like, you know, when you start looking back at your whole life, you gotta go back that far, right? But you start seeing like, man, this thing happened and this thing happened, but if this never happened, then this would have never happened. And then because these things happened, God brought me here. Wow, I didn't think none of these things would have happened for me to get here. Oh, this opportunity opened the door. I did this, I did that. Oh, that only could have been because of God. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like walking in faith, walking in your purpose. And, you know, God allows doors to open. And sometimes if we be too logical about it, like Thomas, we miss out on the blessings. We miss out on the opportunities. And sometimes you quite honestly miss out on God using you to be a blessing to other people.
That's true.
So that ends the impromptu conversation on faith.
Yeah.
Unless you have something else to say.
Nope.
So we in Ecclesiastes chapter 6. I admit that was so hard for me to remember because we just finished that episode like
30 minutes
at this point, 40 minutes ago.
So yeah, so Ecclesiastes, we got a wise man. Hey, I can start abbreviating these. We got a wise man who having an existential survey or like a study, basically, right? On all things meaningful in life, right?
Under the sun.
Under the sun. And now he has already experienced so many things in life that it is his goal now to see what has meaning. He searched through studies, right? He searched through just different philosophies. Is a time to do this, is a time to do that. He searched through pleasures. He searched through labor. And he's struggling to find anything that is not vanity, right? So far, the only thing that he has agreed on and continue to reiterate is that there's nothing more important, or what's the exact words? For every man to, just labor and
Rejoice in his labor.
rejoice in his labor.
This is the gift from God.
Because it's a gift from God, right? And so he doesn't shy away from doing work. You know what I'm saying? But a gift from God is enjoying that work you do, especially if you have somebody. If you enjoy it, and also if you don't enjoy it, like you got to be working for somebody. Don't just work hard, just killing yourself for no gain. You see what I'm saying? It's also vanity. On the last chapter specifically, we spent some time talking about keeping a vow, your vows to God, right? It is better to not make a vow to God than to make a vow and do not keep it. It is also better to, if you was to break that vow, that's a bad thing to do, but don't lie about it. Don't make excuses. Oh, it was an accident, or, this stuff is going to make God angry. You see what I'm saying? Like, why would you make God angry in that way? You know what I'm saying? Also, they talk about, don't rejoice in others' oppression. You see what I'm saying? The laboring man the sleep of a laboring man is sweet, whether he eats little or much, but the abundance of the rich will not permit him to sleep. That's kind of like the highlights from the last chapter. And also he ended it, rejoicing. Yeah, he ended up by saying that, as for every man to whom God has given riches and wealth and given him power to eat of it, to receive his heritage and rejoice in his labor, this is a gift from God. So even though they was talking about rich people specifically, like, and how some rich people have the riches and they don't keep it. You see what I'm saying? Some people, they get to have it and they get to enjoy it. That is also a gift from God. And so we see this consistent theme of laboring and enjoying the fruits of your labor throughout the book of Ecclesiastes.
And so that brings us to Ecclesiastes. Another shout out. Ecclesiastes chapter 6. There was an evil which I have seen under the sun, and it is common among men. A man to whom God has given riches and wealth and honor, so that he lacks nothing for himself of all he desires. Yet God does not give him power to eat of it, but a foreigner consumes it.
Mercy.
This is vanity. And it is an evil affliction.
Mercy.
Wow.
You ever watch them movies where someone, they just have bad luck, quote unquote, right? You win the lottery, and as soon as you scratch that off and realize you win the lottery, it fly away. You see what I'm saying? Or, stuff like that happen. Like, I always be like, bro, that is so unfortunate, right? But he talking.
What are the odds?
Yeah, what are the odds, right? But he right there, he's saying, bro, like, I see something, bro. I see where God give you riches, honor, and all that, bro. But you don't even get to eat of it. But God give you all that, but he don't even give you the power to enjoy it type situation. Someone else come and usurp it from you, a foreigner. This is vanity and the evil affliction. I agree. We call that fattening frog for snake right there. You see what I'm saying? That's what we call that in the Bahamas.
Mercy. If in verse 3, if a man begets 100 children and lives many years, so the days of his years are many, but his soul is not satisfied with goodness, or indeed he has no burial, I say that a stillborn child is better than he.
Mercy.
For it comes in vanity and departs in darkness, and its name is covered with darkness. Though it has not seen the sun or know anything, this has more rest than that man, even if he lives 1,000 years twice, but has not seen goodness. Do not all go to one place? All the labor of man is for his mouth, and yet the soul is not satisfied. For what more has the wise man than the fool? What does the poor man have? Who knows how to walk before the living? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of desire. This is also vanity and grasping for the wind. Whatever one is, he has been named already. For it is known that he is man, and he cannot contend with him who is mightier than he. Since there are many things that increase vanity, how is man the better? For who knows what is good for a man in life? All the days of his vain life which he passes like a shadow. Who can tell a man what will happen after him under the sun?
So I have a highlight right here where I say, better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of desire. This also is vanity and the grasping of the wind.
Mm-hmm.
To me, well, let me read what the Nasby say. What the eyes see is better than what the soul desires. This too is futility and striving after the wind. I like that a little better. That's a little more clear to me. Because it's like, what you have is better than what you longing for, or like what you desiring for.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Because that's vanity. And he hinted towards that on the last episode, right? Those who love gold never satisfied with gold. You see what I'm saying? Like those who love, I guess, promotions never satisfied with it. Like it's always a appetite or a hunger for it.
Those who seek abundance always want the increase.
Exactly. So, and I feel like this is just like another way of them saying that. And to me, this is the crux of the issue, because you might not be a person who seek abundance, or you might not specifically like gold or whatever the specific example is, but you might follow the same theme just in a different way. You see what I'm saying? Like you might be a person who you might not be satisfied with your partner. You see what I'm saying? Like you might always like to be flattered and this and that and the third. And so when you get in a relationship, you become complacent because you want something new or something more. You see what I'm saying? Like, but it's better what you have than letting your soul wander. Like, you catch what I'm saying? Like, that's also vanity because it's like it's insatiable. Like you can't satisfy.
Don't be too big eye.
Real talk, right? In Bahamian terms.
Don't be too big eye.
Real talk.
Mercy. But even like going up a little bit further, right? When he was like, man.
If a man begets 100 children and lives many years.
Yeah, but his soul is not satisfied with goodness. Or he has no burial. I said the stillborn child is better than he.
Yeah.
It's almost like he taught it. It's so interesting, right? Because this is Job-ish, reminiscent of like that bitter darkness Job was experiencing. And it's interesting that the preacher almost feels some of these same sentiments from even being in a place of having everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, if you have all these things, it's almost the opposite of Job, because Job lost everything. We're saying, bro, you have all of these things and don't even experience some of the simple joys in life, it's better that you weren't born.
Yep. That sounded like Job when I read that. Though.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's so interesting seeing the two polar opposites.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because you would think like, okay, this person everything, they wouldn't feel that way. This person lost everything, so I understand they feel that way, but they both feel the same way. And to me, like that's interesting because people always say, yo, if I had it all, I wouldn't feel this way. Ironically, you go back up, you go one buck down, you're like, oh, maybe not, buddy. You feel the same way.
Real dog.
You would feel the same way, and that's just crazy to think about.
That's actually sad to think about, because sometimes we feel like our problems is like what we lack right now. You know what I'm saying? But my thing is, my mommy, someone was quoting somewhere, it's like, bro, if money will solve all your problems, then you have no problems at all. You see what I'm saying? Like, because some people, they have, like Steve Jobs, right? Wealth don't buy health.
Yep.
Money was not his problem, but he had problems that money can't buy. Like if money really is your problem, bro, that actually ain't that big a deal. Like that's something that can be fixed.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And a lot of cases it can be, but yeah. So like a lot of like just I think it's human nature just to want what you don't have. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Or to believe that having such a thing would make you feel better. Like I even feel that way, even though even though I know it's not true. Like I still feel like, bro, if I had this thing,
it increase my quality of life,
right,
or makes things easier, make things better, or if I get this, I would be a better place in life, and I'd be increasing or going further, advancing. And when you get there, you're like, huh, was this what all the hype was about?
Real dog. And then truthfully, it's like, it's so crazy, bro. Because, some people would say, don't complain because some people have it worse than you, right?
Absolutely.
I was always the person to be like, bro, what? So by that point, don't rejoice because that means because someone have it better than you.
Yeah.
Too. You know what I mean? Like, so like, it's multiple ways you could look at it. And ain't nothing right or wrong, I believe, in this scenario. But at the same time, there are people that would like to be in your shoes, bro. There are people who every day their complaint is, I wish I could have the type of job that you and I have. You see what I'm saying? Or the type of career, you know what I mean? Or even to live in the communities that we live in, you know what I mean? And some people just feel like, bro, if I was there.
It's so interesting, right? Because the perception of the other side is always different, right? I saw a comic, but one time it shows like the entrepreneur versus the employed person, right? The employed person who's like employed by a corporation, like you and I for the most part, right? And they were saying, man, to the entrepreneur self-starter, like, oh man, like I wish I had like your freedom and time and stuff, right? And the entrepreneur was saying back, like, man, I wish I had the secure income. I wish I didn't have to work 24/7. And so it's like, man, you want something that you think this other person have, and they want something that you think that they perceive you have, right? So it's always that way. You always compare yourself to someone else because someone wants to be in your shoes, and you might want something they have. You look at some people who you think might be in a better place than you, and they want your lifestyle, but they don't want the stress.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at them by like, I may not want to be you, but I actually want the peace and tranquility that you have in your life. You know what I'm saying? So it's always a give and take. Your perception of what other people going through is always skewed because you looking at what they have that you don't. You ain't looking at things. You're looking at the things that they have that you don't, that you want. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And you're looking at what they have, but you don't want. But it's a package deal. And that's a lot of people don't understand the package deal of certain situations. Like, man, a lot of people at work, you want more money. Mm-hmm. Typically, more money comes with a promotion. You don't want the stress with that promotion.
Real dog.
So you gotta be careful what you ask for. You sometimes be like, mother sick.
Real dog.
Gone are the days when I could have just gone to work and I was the new guy. Mm-hmm. I was asking the questions, so no one expected me to have answers. You just expecting me to do a little two calculations or something, put something on some plans, do a little report. I good. Nowadays, people coming to you, asking you the questions, expecting you to give them work, expecting you to review their work. Mm-hmm. And your name going on the things now. It's like, boy, this is a little different. It's a new level, right? But you can't expect the more pay and not expect the effort that goes along with that pay. And that's in everything, in entrepreneurship and in business and everything. Like some people say, okay, I want to get paid to do the same job, but typically it don't work out that way.
Right.
And I'm going to get into like the business by financial part, right? Because I feel like I get off topic just now, but where were we?
But that too is illogical. But
fit in. But again, a lot of these things are like chasing after the wind, right? Because you chasing this big promotion, you chasing all of this increase in your life, but for the wrong reasons. And I think that's, and again, like when you read the book of Solomon, as I think I said in the last episode, right? When you read the book of Solomon, you got to keep it in the context of what Solomon is doing in these first beginning chapters. And you got to dissect it as such, bro. He's trying to find meaning in life outside of God.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these things he pursuing, bro, is like, you got to almost like take God out of the picture, even though he mentioned God in a specific sense, like he did like last chapter. Is in a specific context, like, bro, I still like giving God reverence, but I ain't really trying to like worship him in the specific point in time. So now he's saying, bro, you doing all these things, bro, I trying to find out fulfillment in life, bro. I didn't have all these kids. You know, one could imagine Solomon probably had plenty of kids because he had plenty concubines and wives, right? But like, you doing all of this, bro, but for what? At the end of the day, bro, you ain't getting no fulfillment of this, bro. You know what I'm saying? So like, what you do all of this for? When you look back at your life, like what you did all of this for? You know what I'm saying? In pursuit of what? Now I do all of this. I gather all this this amount of wealth. I had all these wives. I had all these children. I built all these fanciful structures. But I never really experienced goodness in the context of this chapter. You know what I'm saying? In the context of the last chapters, bro, I got to leave all this stuff to somebody. I do all this stuff. I never experienced joy. Did I truly live a fulfilling life? All of this I literally did trying to leave my mark on the world. And like what he said, like 2 chapters ago when we had Yana on 2 chapters ago when we had Yana on the podcast, and he's saying, man, hey, you did all of this and you don't have no one to leave, and like you didn't even like spend time with like no one to leave it to, like no son or no next of kin, and no one to share in these relationships with. All that was for vanity. So you work your whole life to accomplish these things, you have no one to leave it to. What you do it for? When you could have been out there making meaningful relationships. These are things you got to start thinking about. Like you pursuing these selfish ambitions, but for what cost? And what are you sacrificing in order to obtain them? And is it worth it?
Yeah, that's a good question, bro. And what was kind of interesting to me though, but he was like, you do all this thing, you got all these children, but you ain't never really experienced nothing really good, or I think that's how they put it.
Goodness.
Right. And there's like, so that the days of his years are many, but his soul is not satisfied with goodness, or indeed he has no burial. I say that a stillborn child is better than he. Now, obviously, you can't control your burial. You could even make provisions, but the people after you, they still have to oblige.
Right, they got to decide.
Real talk. You see what I'm saying? But it's like,
and they got to have the money, but it costs a lot of money to die, but
real talk. But
anyway.
But this man, right? He have 100 children, bro. This man have 100 children, and he live a long life. Y'all could have scraped some money, but all y'all put 1 shekel together. You see what I say? And y'all could get a burial for him. But that's so disgraceful too, though. Because think about it, right? You have all these children, and you can't have a proper burial. You live all this life, but you just wasn't satisfied with nothing that's good. No good thing was like you like that or you was cool with that. That wasn't the type of life you live, and it almost reflects the burial that you had.
Exactly.
Why your children don't bury you, bro? Who don't want to bury their parent?
Because you ain't never spend that time with them. They don't even know you.
Exactly, bro. You wasn't really focused on goodness, bro. You wasn't into that type of thing. The man say, a stillborn child is better than he. You know, it always used to fascinate me how, like, I guess because a lot of people believe that you can go straight to heaven when you die, or that you just living among us in a spiritual form or whatever. But it really always used to fascinate me, like how all throughout humanity, like we always like is send off like dead people, like we have a ceremony for them. You see what I'm saying? Or like a solemn thing, like like when someone, even when you watching like old movies, bro, but like it's never been commonplace for someone you care about to you just leave there. You see what I say? Like they gone now. You say it's just a body now. Like it ain't like they ain't there no more.
That's
like
when Jesus say let the dead
bury the dead.
It's so controversial.
That's controversial to me even to this day. Like boy, you but I take that as him saying like dead spiritually, like people who don't really like, because you had a more important thing to do than to bury it. You know what I mean? we could debate. I'm sorry if you all disagree. There's up for debate. You know what I mean? Like,
we'll have a next conversation.
Don't kill me. Yeah, like, but here you could see that like that's a good thing. Like that's like even though the person is gone, you see what I'm saying, and they sleep now, or like their soul is no more until Jesus come back. You still it's still good to honor them. You see what I'm saying? That's still a good thing. You know what I mean? But to the person who they leave and ain't nobody even want to honor them, a stillborn better than them. But like honestly, bro, I've seen people, bro, that pass away, and somebody have to say, well, I guess I could make some provisions for you. You see what I'm saying? You don't have a good relationship with your family. You was a rolling stone. You didn't really have long-term relationships and stuff like that. Your parents gone. Like nobody really care, to be honest with you. But it's like some distant relative or some family friend. Like, no man, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like to me, that's disgraceful to me. You see what I'm saying? Like, and so like we see Solomon saying that too, bro. Like you go all throughout all your life, and that's how you end. I could be real, but that's sad. But I mean, I'm glad people ain't there to see it. But boy, Lord, I know by the grace of God, I know I ain't gonna be in that predicament by the grace of God. But that would be that's just like shameful to me. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because the question is that man who died, does he even know that his pursuits were like grasping after the wind?
So questions like that are always interesting to me because, you know, there's a phrase say, if you know better, you do better, right? I don't agree with that fully, but I also don't disagree with that. I believe, this is my philosophy, that if everybody knew what the experience was, they would make sure they don't go there. But because we don't know, like the practicality of how that feel, how eternal separation from God really is. We could be so laissez-faire about our salvation.
Laissez-faire, like that one.
Yeah.
I like that one.
That's a good one. I was wondering if I was gonna do it.
No, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
You can be so nonchalant, right? About or cavalier. Cavalier is a good one.
That's a good one too.
Yeah,
that's a good one too.
So cavalier about our salvation, right? And so to the question where if he knew that it was vanity or chasing after the wind, some people know how futile the things they doing are, right? But they don't really have the full grasp of like the impact that will have. You see what I'm saying? I believe that if you enjoy your life even for a day, bro, you would feel like you shouldn't be in a place where people saying a stillborn is better than you. You see what I'm saying? You would make sure you would do everything in your power to prevent being compared to a stillborn or being considered lesser than a stillborn. You see what I'm saying? So I believe that I don't think people, even when people know, like, I could just say no. He didn't know how vain his lifestyle was. And the reason why I just firmly say no is because Solomon taking the time to teach us all this stuff is vanity. If it was already understood and known,
that's a fair point.
Yeah, it wouldn't be necessary for him to be giving us all of these scenarios. This from his research.
That's fair. That's fair. It's a little hard pill to swallow, but it's definitely fair. Yeah. And man, because sometimes, like, even for me, it's like how engrossed. Half the times I be battling with a choice like, how meaningful are some of the pursuits I am truly pursuing? How impactful will it be? And it's always like, is it personal gain? Is it me lying to myself that this would be better in some way, shape, or form? Or is it just, self-glorification? And that's always the struggle that I like battle with, right? Because it's like, at a certain point, you read stuff like this, you're like, bro, everything is vanity, so why even try? But then the next point, like, you still got to do some fulfillment in life, even like how you say some of the good things about this is enjoying some of the fruits of your labor. And to me, there's a balance. There's definitely a balance because God ain't put us on earth to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? So you got to do something. You know what I'm saying? And so part of it is like, in what am I doing? In what I am doing, is it still gonna somehow be meaningful? Is it still gonna somehow leave an impact with family, friends, legacy? But at the same time, could it still be like bringing some honor and glory to God in some type way, shape, or form? And like to me, that's just like how I start to like at least personally balance it. Because, and again, we're gonna get to the end of the book, and some of these things can be more in context, right? But it still starts to make you think like, what is meaningful in life? But even here, you could see like he focusing on in this chapter too, like, yo, you could chase these things, but don't sacrifice your family and your family relations in pursuit of these things. Because if you get here and don't have these other aspects that come along with it, then it's like chasing after the wind, because you ain't gonna enjoy it. And to me, that's why I try to keep in mind, because man, you could become the CEO of a company, but if you missed all of your children's plays, recitals, sports games, dance rehearsals, all these different things, didn't take them to school, they might have these different conversations, missed every dinner. Then when they teenagers and you don't even know your child, you instantly regret it. Because now you're like, bro, I'm a CEO, but I don't even know my family. And now you realize this pursuit was vanity, because the things that truly mattered, you no longer have access to. And I think some of this book really helping you, even though this is journey under the sun, life apart for God, making you think, and because it's making you see some of the, not lose sight of the important things in life that truly matter as you go through this life. Even if you want to live it under the sun and apart from God. Granted, we can get to the end of the book and see how everything ties together, but you start saying like, all right, like some of these things that people, society try to tell you to shove to the side in pursuit of these goals, they're actually important, especially in today's day. Like, yo, spending time with your family is actually important. Having a good relationship with your kids is actually important. You know what I'm saying? So like, don't lose sight of these things in pursuit of these goals, because when you get there and you don't have these things, it's all vanity. It's all vanity.
In this chapter, the author begins by describing an evil which he has observed under the sun, where a man who God has blessed with wealth, riches, and honor so that he lacks nothing is not able to enjoy any of that. Solomon describes this as vanity and a severe evil. Next, Solomon talks about the futility of long life without satisfaction. If a man lives long and has a lot of children, but does not enjoy the good things in life, Solomon says it would be better if he was not even born. Then finally, Solomon reflects on our inability to know the future, no matter how wise or foolish we are. But we'll talk more about that as we continue with Ecclesiastes 7 on the next episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Tonight's episode included voice acting by your host, Nakhaz. Remember to go ahead and research on your own in order to get a more firm understanding of tonight's episode. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can follow us on social media at A Breath of Fresh Air Pod on Instagram and BOFAPOD on Twitter. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week.